I am putting together a small stretching workout for you guys today. It's completely selfish. My body really needs it. I do a stretch out and a cool down after each of my workouts, but sometimes it doesn't feel like it's enough. And so I wanted to give you a guided stretch today so that you could have something like this in your arsenal as well. I always recommend that you warm up a little bit before stretching. Being warm before stretching is one of the things that helps prevent injury. And so if you're already warm, you absolutely can skip ahead and go just straight to the stretching part. You will see some yoga moves in this, but I am not a yoga instructor. This will not be yoga. If you want yoga, there are plenty of other people out there who do these videos and are more qualified than me to guide you through that. But I am going to start top to bottom. After we warm up, I'm going to start top to bottom so that we can try and get all the pieces that might be tight on you. We'll start probably stretching on the rower because there are some specific stretches that I like to do here. But then I will put the rower into a storage position and bring out my little yoga mat and get on the floor with you. So I do have posted a couple of playlist options on here. One will help you hold a low stroke rate. The other is just mood music, but entirely your call whether you want to row with music or not. When I'm in a warm-up pace, straight up, like I do not go over a 20, 21 stroke rate. That's just what feels natural to me. But as I say before, your mileage may vary, and that's okay. Like whatever you need in order to feel like you're getting your body going is totally okay. But don't forget about your form. Correct form is what helps you stay out of injury. I've had to shift mine a little bit. There are a few things that I do right now that you really don't want to pay attention to or try to copy. I'm still working on them because of how my body is changing shape right now. You'll notice that I actually spread my knees a little bit too much in order to make room for my belly. I do not encourage this at all. I actually really recommend that you reduce your compression. Really keep some more space in between your heels and your seat. Still getting that hip hinge, but really keeping your knees underneath you, straight ahead. If you spread your knees too much so that you've got this angle, like I'm doing right now, you're not using your knees properly. Your knees aren't built like your hips. Your hips are designed to do all kinds of all-around movement, right? Your knees are really meant to be straight, dead on. So there's a little bit of flex in them, right? Otherwise I wouldn't be able to do something like that. But most of that motion, again, is happening in your hips. So if you're always on the rower, making room for your belly and spreading your knees, you're not only using the muscles in your legs in a bizarre way, but you're also working yourself toward a knee injury. So if you've been rowing for a while and you're like, why do my knees hurt? Or why do my knees still hurt? Really pay attention and look down and make sure that your shins are vertical. Not just getting up here so that you're vertical like to the camera, okay, to somebody else, profile, but also making sure that they're vertical to you as you look down. Now, the curse with that, looking down at your knees, is that does sacrifice your posture. So try not to get in the habit of always looking down. But there's a little bit of a knee tip for you today. But don't ever lose, really focus on getting that hip hinge in, getting that angle into your body, leaning forward. I call it an 11 o'clock position because number one, that's what I was trained to call it. But if you think about a clock being on the wall, It does depend on which wall your clock is on, but the angle at which that hour hand would be at 11 o'clock, that's what you want to think about having the angle of your body be when you come into your catch position. Then you want to hold that for as long as possible, actually. You don't want to be pulling back with your shoulders. That's not where most of your power is. If you think about it, your femur right here in your leg, your quad, that's the longest bone in your body. And your glutes are really big muscles too. So you've got a ton of power in your legs. And that's where you're going to get the power out of your stroke. So if you keep that lean in with your body as you press back, it forces you to use your legs more to get that power. All right, so we've been rowing for approximately 4 minutes. I'm going to row for about 1 minute more. My body is starting to feel a little bit warmer. I'm in a very cold garage, so I look like I'm dressed for Maine winter right now. Just a little bit further. Woo. Lean in on your breathing. Still at that 20-21 stroke rate. I'm really not, but you know what? Again, whatever pace you want to warm up at, that's entirely your call. No worries there. You'll also notice I'm not really doing a full stroke. I can't particularly do a full stroke right now, but it's okay if you do these at halves, as long as you're keeping that work in your legs. All right, we're going to pause for just a second while I rack up and shift where my rower is so that I have room to do stretches with you. So, all right. So, like I said, we're going to start top to bottom. I'm going to be as specific as possible so that you can understand what muscles we're stretching. And I'm going to turn my angle a lot so that you have a better view of what we're working, what we're stretching. So I'm actually going to start back to you because we're going to start by stretching out your neck. So if you're able, I want you to start by lacing your fingers behind you and just pulling your elbows into your back, really trying to straighten out your arms. What that's going to do, that's going to open up your chest. You're going to get a nice stretch in your collarbone right here, in your pecs a little bit. Okay? Option here, again, if you're able, to do a little bit of neck roll to one side and then the other. I don't want you to go all the way back. That can be hard actually on some primary arteries in your neck and reduce blood flow. But you want to just think about making a small semicircle on one side. If, again, this level of motion and this position of your arms is not available to you, that's okay. You can, instead of pulling your arms straight down, you can tuck your hands into one side of your hip. Now, while you're doing this neck stretch, you want to make sure that you are tilting your head toward your hands so that you're stretching right in here. So we're going to switch sides in 3 and 2 and 1. Oh, that side's tighter for sure. If you struggle with migraines, headaches of any kind, I'm always, again, not a doctor, but I'm always going to suggest going to a chiropractor to work on that issue. I agree, not all chiropractors are created equally, but they really are trained to help you, and they are real doctors. My chiropractor has been life-changing for me. That being said, this is a stretch that I learned from a chiropractor in order to help me with my migraines. And especially if your form with rowing is such right now where you're using your shoulders too much, this is a really great stretch to try and open you up. So, moving on to our lats underneath our bodies. You can either lace your fingers here or just hold your fingers. But again, straighten your arms, press your palms to the sky. You can still benefit from this if you can't get your arms straight or if you don't have full mobility in your shoulders. Deep breaths while you're here, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Okay. And try to sit up as tall as you can, always trying to open up your chest. Okay. Now grab your right wrist and stretch over to your left. Always take some deep breaths here and feel free to move out of the stretch and back into the stretch. This won't be the only stretching workout I put up here. There are several things that I want you to learn as we go, but this is a good starting point. Come back to center, switch wrists. Grab your left wrist and stretch over to your right. By the way, if you're mirror imaging me right now, if you're following, if you're not dyslexic, all of my left and right hand cues will be opposite for you, and that's okay. All right, I will try to switch those. So cross your left over your right. This is where to see, I had a member at my studio who used to always make fun of me for not being able to keep my left and my right straight. This is one of those times when that's totally going to pay off. If you want to do this on your own without watching the video, I always think it's easier to follow somebody if you can't remember all the things that you want to do. Keeps you focused. Switch sides. If you're good at counting, a good count to 15 or 20. It's about how long you want to hold these. You can also feel for when you've been here long enough that your body starts to relax into it. Now you can breathe into it and focus on the part of your body and just sort of zero in and get that relaxing emotion, that relaxing feeling a lot sooner. It's all a matter of how aware you are of your body. And not all of us were created equally on body awareness. So counting is a good way to get there without having to feel everything. Feeling's tough. Feeling can really be tough. All right, so we're going to move. So we've done shoulders this way. We've done lats this way. We're going to go into your first yoga move of the day, your cat-cow. Okay, so you want your knees directly below your hips. You want your palms directly below your shoulders. You really want to get a nice square position here. Okay, you want to relax your chest a little bit into the floor. Okay, that's going to help you. Whenever you've got a flat back, it actually feels like you have an arched back. You want a flat back here. But for that cow position, you're going to really relax that arch in your back. You're going to press your belly and your chest into the floor. This is going to be a core stretch. It's also going to work your hips a little bit. If you want to do a little bit of twist safely, we'll do this a little bit more later. That'll get some motion in your back if you have a stiff one. Now, curl up high, shoulder blades to the sky for your cat position. We're going to go back and forth in between these two positions, and it's your pace, your time. You do not have to follow me exactly for this. It's whatever your body needs. Deep breaths. Don't forget to breathe. So many of us stop breathing All right, we're going to turn this into a thread the needle. So you're going to pass your arm underneath your body and through your other elbow. Get to the floor. This may be really stiff for you. Some of you will not be able to get your shoulder to the floor. That's okay. In order to help with that, you can spread your knees a little bit, relax your belly. That's going to relax your hips, and just let gravity take over. Breathe into it. If you're still not there, that's okay. It will come with time. And just sit here and take some deep breaths. Again, count to 15 or 20. Make sure you're going underneath your body through your other arm to the other side. And again, just relax. We're still working on upper body here. So you want to feel this motion, this stretch in your lats underneath your shoulder blades and your back. You're going to feel it in your shoulder. You are going to feel a little bit of work on this side, but that's okay, because working these muscles is one of the things that helps you stretch out. So we're going to switch sides. Oh my God. Again, relax into it. Relax your hips. It's okay if your hips shift back some. We're all built a little bit differently, and that's okay. We were made that way. You're not going to have the same problem somebody else does. Just relax into it. Let gravity take over. Find those places in your body where you're tight. Focus on them just a little bit. Feel into what's there. Taking a deep breath. And let it go. All right, we're going to start to shift into our lower body stretches. And a great way to get there is actually child's pose. So it's very similar to what we just did. Okay, but you're going to sit back into your hips. If you can get your booty to your heels, great. If you can't, that's okay too. This is not necessary. Getting all the way down into your heels is not necessary for making this stretch successful. If you're up here and that's the best you can do, just sink your chest into the floor a little bit further. This really is, for as much as this opens up your hips, this really is still a lot of upper body. We're getting in your lats underneath your armpits. If you have a rubber floor or yoga mat underneath you, use the traction in your mat to help that hold your hands and help you stretch all of this just a little bit better. Now walk your hands to one side or the other. You'll be able to get deeper into your lats and down into your obliques and your hips from the side. Deep breaths while you're here. A reminder to relax your hips. Relax your belly into the floor. Switch sides. Your pace, your time. You can do this. You can do multiples of these during this time. You do not have to sit and rest the way I am. I know it's going to seem like I'm taking a lot of time to do this, but this really will refresh and detox your body. And you'll notice with every deep breath that you take, you'll get a little bit deeper into each of these stretches. This next move, I can't remember what it's called in yoga. It's something like a rolling lion or something like that, but we're going to start to move into your hips. Okay? And you're going to think about drawing a circle with your hips and your lower body around your knees. So you're going to come to one side, you're going to pull through to the other, you're going to hold that one side and go back to your heels. You're going to want to go both directions. So you're going to want to draw a circle both clockwise and counterclockwise. Again, your pace, your time. We've already opened up your hips a lot with the thread the needle, with the child's pose, but this gets that little bit of extra motion in there. If you've recently had a hip surgery or hip replacement, definitely defer to what your physical therapist, doctor are saying for you to do here. I do not have knowledge in that realm to be able to give you safe advice. If you have trouble with your knees and being on your knees is uncomfortable and you do not have a yoga mat at home that helps pad them, all you need is a good bath towel. Fold it up a couple of times, get them underneath. That'll give you plenty of padding. Okay. We're going to go for a down dog. So tuck your toes. Yep. Tuck your toes. Get some good grip there. Pike your hips. Oh my God, I have not done this in so long. Woo! I am showing my pregnancy card. Okay. I am not a good example of this today. You're going to want to try and get, wow, drama, a straight line from your heels to your booty. Okay. You're going to do that by relaxing your chest toward the floor. And if you don't feel this calf stretch, you're super bendy. That being said, if holding this static is really uncomfortable, that's okay. Just do a little bit of walk with your heels, picking up one foot gently at a time, pressing your heel into the floor. If you're not familiar, one of the things that's really common in pregnancy is that because you wanted all of these tips, I'm so sorry, this is just my life right now. Really common for calves and feet to get exquisitely tight. I believe it has to do with your center of gravity completely changing and you walking different because you're so uncomfortable in your torso. But it also has to do with that the little gremlin inside of you is stealing all of your electrolytes. So I'll be rocking the Gatorade more this week for sure. All right. Woo! Okay, so bend your knees, walk your hands back to your toes, and I want you to do a super slow roll up. Think about stacking one vertebra at a time. You can hang here for a second, do just a little bit of ragdoll, but we'll come back to ragdoll. Okay, you're going to roll up one vertebra at a time. Impossible to do, by the way, but that's one of the ways that we really, it's okay if your knees bend, that we really try to get you aware of exactly how slow this movement should go. Your head should come up last. Ooh. Okay. All right, so we're going to go horizontal to your mat here. If you have a mat. If you don't, just go horizontal. Spread your feet super wide. I call these wide side squats. They're just side lunges. So you can go as low, all right, or as shallow as you want here. But I really want your focus to be, yes, in your legs. That's going to happen naturally. I want you to look ahead of you. That's going to help you with your balance. And I want you to keep your torso high. Again, you want that little bit of arch in your back. It's exactly like if you were on the rower with me. You want that little bit of arch. That's what it's gonna feel like if your back is actually flat. It keeps your lower back safe. That is the purpose of keeping this engagement in your core, front, back, all sides. Switch sides. You can do this again. This is your pace, your time. You can do this any way you want. You can do pulses on one side at a time. You can go back and forth. You're going to find out which side you use more while you're rowing, if you row with me, because If you are uneven when you're rowing, you're going to feel which leg is tighter because of which one you're stretching more out of. Okay. You're also going to want to take a pause in the middle and do a really nice deep sumo squat here. Again, you can do this any way you want. You can do one at a time with pulses, or you can do side to side, break in the middle. Yes, you are getting a little bit of a leg workout here, but again, it's important to keep our muscles warm as we stretch. We're all shaped a little bit differently. So if you watch my feet, you'll notice that when I'm doing my lunges, I keep my feet a little bit more parallel. When I'm doing that sumo squat, I'm turning them out in order to open up my hips more. But again, entirely your call how you want to do this. I'm finally starting to warm up. All right. You might want to bring your feet in a little bit closer for this. We're going to do a flat back down, again, keeping your core engaged. Hang out here for just a second for a nice triangle stretch. Deep breaths while you're here. Come back out of it. We're going to do this 2 more times. This is for your hamstrings. You're going to feel some work in your glutes, but you're going to feel most of the stretch in your hamstrings behind your quads. It is always okay during these stretches, as long as you're still feeling the stretch, that you've got a soft knee. Locked knees, it's just going to stretch out your sciatic nerve. You want a little bit of bend. Flat back down. Come back to vertical. This time we're going to swan dive all the way down. So swan dive down and fold over. Let gravity take over here. Again, soft knees, not bent knees, just soft knees. This isn't a squat. If you're bendy enough that you want to reach through your legs here, totally an option. If you would rather ragdoll it, if you have the balance for that, just grab your elbows, sway gently back and forth. Your hamstrings are called hamstrings for a reason. It is not just one muscle. You have 3 in each leg. So getting a little bit of movement back and forth while you're in a hamstring stretch will make sure that you are stretching all 3 of your hamstrings. Come back to vertical, roll up this time. Don't worry about that flat back. Come out of it. All right, I want you to do just a little bit of squeeze in your quads and your hams right now. Just tighten those up. You don't have to move anywhere. Just tighten them. Release. Go back down. You may find this round that you can go a little bit further. That's that reason for that little bit of squeeze. We probably should have spent a little bit more time there, but that's okay. All right, we're going to walk our hands to the front here. Frame your front foot, your supporting foot here. Now try to get the weight even between 2 feet, and you're going to go down. You really are still going to have more emphasis up here, and go down into a runner's lunge. If you want to extend this out, reach your opposite hand to the sky for a greatest stretch. Go for it. Make sure you're opening your chest up to the wall and getting your shoulders as stacked as possible. This is exquisitely uncomfortable for me right now, so I'm going to go back to my runner's lunge. You can also do runner's lunge with your hands on one side of your foot. I might start doing that. Oof, at least for the next few months. All right, stand up out of it, but just straighten your front leg for another triangle stretch here. Go back into your runner's lunge. Go back and forth. Again, your pace, your time in between these 2 positions a little bit. Then we will switch to the other side. You do not have to change the position of your feet in order to make this work. You can stand up out of it, walk your hands to the other side, shift your feet, oof, and sit back into it. Runner's lunge, you've got as much length as possible in between your 2 feet. Again, this is going to look different on all of you, and that's okay. You don't have to switch sides. I'm just doing it for the camera so you don't have to stare at my butt. I don't know, you might be into that. Again, if you want to open up to one side, get your shoulders stacked. This will get a little bit extra stretch in your glute, a little bit extra work there too. A little bit of twist in your back. Or you want to get to one side and get lower. That's another option. I'm going to go to my knees. That's where I'm going to leave you for today. Hopefully that opened you up a little bit. It did for me, for sure. Got your heart pumping just a touch if you weren't breathing. Probably anyway. And thanks for joining me.